You look up at night and you see dots. Pretty, distant, mostly irrelevant to your day. You don't need the stars. Your phone tells you the date. Your calendar tells you when to plant, when to harvest, when winter's coming. Take all of that away, every app, every printed calendar, every clock, and the sky is the only instrument you've got left. For most of human history, that's exactly what it was. Not decoration, infrastructure. Here's the strangest part. Your ancestors weren't guessing. Start with a disk of bronze, buried in the ground near a town called Nebra, in what's now Germany, roughly 3,600 years ago. Looted by treasure hunters in 1999, recovered by police 3 years later. 32 centimeters wide. Gold inlay on dark bronze. A sun or a full moon. A crescent moon. And a tight cluster of 7 gold dots that researchers are confident depicts the Pleiades. Decode that. The Pleiades is a cluster of stars visible to the naked eye as a smudge of light that ancient farmers across multiple continents used as a calendar. When the crescent moon sat next to the Pleiades on exactly the right night of the lunar month, that told you it was time to add an extra month to the year to keep your calendar synced with the actual seasons. This is a leap year calculation, worked out by Bronze Age farmers with no math beyond counting, encoded permanently into a disk of metal. And the metal itself tells its own story. Chemical analysis traced the copper to Austria. The gold and tin came from Cornwall, in England, over 1,000 kilometers away. A community with no writing system that we know of somehow built and maintained trade networks spanning most of Europe, specifically to build an instrument for reading the sky. That's one disk, one culture, one moment in time. Now go somewhere with zero contact with Bronze Age Germany, separated by an entire ocean and tens of thousands of years of isolated history. Aboriginal Australian astronomical traditions stretch back an estimated 40,000 years, according to astrophysicist Ray Norris of CSIRO and Western Sydney University, who has spent decades documenting them alongside his wife Scylla. And one of the most striking things in that tradition isn't made of stars at all. It's made of the spaces between them. Look toward the Southern Cross on a clear night, and you'll find the Coal Sack Nebula, a dark patch of dust blocking the starlight behind it. Aboriginal sky watchers across dozens of distinct nations traced that dark patch, and the dust lanes stretching from it through Scorpius and across the Milky Way into the unmistakable shape of an emu. Head, neck, body, legs, running across the sky. Not a constellation made of stars. A constellation made of what isn't there, and it wasn't just art. Several Aboriginal groups tracked exactly when the emu appeared in a specific orientation relative to the horizon to know precisely when emus themselves would be laying eggs on the ground, which meant it was time to go collect them. The sky told you when to eat. Now picture what it actually meant to hold that knowledge. You're not just looking up, you're tracking a system with dozens of moving parts, the position of specific stars at dusk, the phase of the moon, the angle of a dark patch of dust against the horizon, cross-referencing all of it against the memory of every season you've lived through and every season your elders told you about before you were born. Miss the signal, and you plant too early and lose the crop to frost. Miss it the other way, and you starve through a winter you didn't prepare for. The sky was not a hobby. It was the only weather service, calendar, and almanac your entire community had. Here's the twist most people get backward. We tend to picture ancient sky watching as mystical guesswork, priests staring upward and making things up. The Nebra disk and the emu in the sky argue almost the opposite. These are precise, testable, cross-generational datasets. The Nebra disk's calendar rule has been checked against actual lunar cycles, and it works. The emu's timing correlates with actual emu breeding behavior. This wasn't superstition wearing a costume, it was empirical science, run without telescopes, without written math, without instruments beyond the naked eye, and an enormous amount of patient, repeated observation, passed down accurately enough to still be checkable today. You still carry a faint echo of this. That instinct to check the sky before you leave the house, that quiet unease under an unusually starless night, that reflexive glance upward when something in the weather feels wrong. Your ancestors built entire civilizations around paying that same kind of attention, except for them, missing the pattern wasn't an inconvenience. It was the difference between a harvest and a famine. You look up now mostly for the view. They looked up because their lives depended on getting the reading right.